Let me now bring in research fellow for the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Barish Center for Media Integrity, Ivana Stradner. Ivana, Putin has previously offered up this idea, right, of some sort of leader summit, but then backtracked on it. So are we taking him seriously that this is something that he genuinely wants and is going to follow through on?
We already had multiple opportunities to talk to Russia, and every time when we had meetings with Russia, Putin failed to deliver what he promised. As a matter of fact, every time he would even more bomb Kyiv. So I have to admit I'm not very hopeful about the upcoming meeting between Trump and Putin, because Putin will just use that as an opportunity for his audience, for his own audience, to put the agenda that Russia is still the great power and important. I don't think that words in Putin's world matters. What matters is for Putin sanctions and also weapons to Ukraine. Because make no mistake, Putin is not going to stop at Ukraine, and he has maximalist goals for Ukraine. So President Trump is absolutely right to impose secondary sanctions and to ramp up even additional sanctions to deter Putin. So I have to admit I'm really not very hopeful about the upcoming meeting between Trump and Putin.
Yeah, and you bring up these sanctions. Just on Thursday, Trump doubled tariffs on India to 50%. The other secondary sanctions and tariffs still set to go into effect come tomorrow. I know you just mentioned Putin cares about sanctions. So does that get him closer to the negotiating table or farther from? Does this just irritate him?
Absolutely. Putin is very nervous about sanctions because Russia's center of gravity is oil and gas. And we should absolutely not allow all those countries, whether it's China, whether it's India, whether it's Turkey, to fuel that war machine. And once you remove that as a weapon that Russia has been using, Putin is then in a big trouble. And Putin absolutely knows that this is going to hurt.
Yeah, oil and gas, his center of gravity. Couldn't be more true. Trump also sounded very optimistic on Wednesday, saying, quote, great progress was made between Steve Witkoff and Putin in Moscow. What does that indicate to you on what might have been achieved, or maybe even possibly any concessions that Russia might be willing to make?
I have to admit, the Russian media actually emphasizes how they receive signal from Washington, but they also send signal to Washington. So I don't think that that particular meeting was important in terms of delivering something new that Putin didn't know so far. But Putin, I'm sure he heard loud and clear that basically as of today, he has less than 24 hours to follow through on his promise. Otherwise, sanctions will be slapped. And I have to admit, two more things that we need to do to impose additional sanctions on Russia and absolutely to send additional weapons to Ukraine to deter Putin. Because for Putin, the only language that he understands is the language of power. Kindness is weakness for him.
Yeah, we know Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the war must end, but it must end honestly. We'll see what Russia offers up and if Ukraine likes it or not. Ivana Stradner, a pleasure to have you this morning, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.